Help, help, I'm being attacked. Hello, Reapers! My name is Seth, and we are back again with some more Trove. I know that's like the weirdest intro ever, but you gotta love the cringe. Seriously, it makes you go, ugh. There's no other YouTube channel that makes you go, ugh, right? So anyways, hello everybody. Sorry it's been a while since we ended up having consistent Trove videos. I've been dealing with a whole lot of headaches. I'm gonna have a vlog video that's gonna talk about it in more detail, but the short story is I injured myself last week and I wasn't able to record or do anything, and then more recently I've upgraded from Windows 7 to Windows 10. And that took up a lot of that took up a lot more time than it actually was supposed to. So today we're going to be summarizing the latest dev live stream. I am going to have a video come out very soon that's going to be talking about the new Twitch Prime pack. So you can essentially end up getting yourselves a dragon, a mount. It's in the promo section, and an ally for absolutely free. But we're going to talk about that in another video so that I can do a proper tutorial on it. As for today, it's just going to be the dev live stream. So I want to give a shout out to Shiro Kiri because they always summarize all of these dev live streams, and it really makes it useful for me to not have to siphon through over an hour of content just to find out these questions, right? And incidentally, I ended up getting a comment from Shiro saying that they were a guy, because I kept saying guy or girl, I don't know who they were. So thanks, dude, really appreciate it. And otherwise, without further ado, let's get to it. Be sure to hit that like button though, because it's gonna make the video show up in searches and stuff for everybody else to check out all this stuff. So Twitch Prime partnership is now available. If you sign up for Amazon Prime, you essentially end up getting Twitch Prime. You can do it for free. You can get a 30-day free trial, but you are going to need a credit card in order to actually sign up for it in the first place, because they have the intent of charging you, and you pretty much just cancel your order as soon as you get all the Trove items, and then you're going to be able to, you know, not have to pay as soon as the as soon as your time free trial ends up running out, right? So that's going to give you a couple different items. The Valentine's event is coming back February 13th. So instead of, like, what would happen in the past, console players, is heck bugs would end up raining down from the sky and replacing invaders. This is how a lot of the events used to work back in the day. Now, they're just going to have it so that these enemies are going to be spawned out in the world. These enemies are really, really cool because they're actually from a different Trine Worlds game. They're from Divergence or Defiance. That's it, Defiance, right? And what happens when you go and fight these guys is they're going to have a chance of dropping a love bug box that is going to end up dropping this mount right here. I'll insert some footage, and then there's going to be the event, which is going to be 10 things that you gotta go through in order to actually get this carpet mount right here. And it's a carpet mount, which begs the question, is it going to glide? Most likely yes. So that's going to be a free gliding mount. The love bugs though, that's going to be difficult just because of the fact that the drop rate of the adventure chest is really, really low, and then getting the items out of the adventure chest themselves is really, really low as well. Now, I don't know whether or not that's going to end up dropping the red version of the bug, because originally there was where is it bug, let me see if that actually ends up doing it. So there was a red version of the bashful love bug, right? And I don't know where it is right now, it escapes me, but it was an enemy from Defiance, and the only way that you could actually get that mount back in the day was you specifically had to play a certain amount of Defiance, complete a specific quest, and then you would get the mount in Trove, right? But then they ended up adding it to Chaos Chests and to events and stuff like that. It might even be in those skittering boxes. Honestly, who knows? But we're also going to end up getting wings from the event. Not exactly sure if it's just, like, we don't know how we're going to get them, because in the dev stream, they were very, very unclear and didn't seem to remember where you would actually get the wings from, but this is what they look like. They're Valentine wings, so obviously they're coming in some way, shape, or form with the event. Hopefully not out of the store, right? And then there's going to be a new pack coming next Tuesday, right? So this pack is going to include this griffin mount that you're going to see before you right here. These wings, which are really, really cool, kind of greenish yellow though, which is a weird off color, honestly speaking. I know that it's supposed to be the Trove official colors, but it's kind of gross. And then there's going to be a new framework as well, so we don't know what that's going to end up being as far as like a pre-built functionality, or, you know, what is it going to be? Something cool? Is it going to be a giant heart house? That'd be kind of cool. But in either case, I'm going to have a video talking about that pack specifically on the channel, so you can expect to see that shortly when the event ends up, when it's actually like in the game, right? So anyways, we got questions and answers here. So there's quite a bit this time. There was actually quite a bit of questions this time, so this video might end up being a little bit longer than expected. So just bear with it and strap yourselves in. So the question is there any chance to increase the amount of flux or glim received from adventure boxes? The response is, we've recently been adding new methods to obtain flux and stuff like that with the flux crystals that you get while out and adventuring and stuff like that. Our next major update will add yet a new method that works similarly to adventure boxes. So I'm guessing we're gonna have like maybe treasure chest that is just going to specifically give flux, like Titan treasures used to, devs, and then you end up nerfing them. No answer about the glim. Honestly, glim is an easy resource to get. If you're not getting enough glim to do the things that you need, then you're not fishing enough or doing any of the other methods that you can do to get glim. So the question is, do you think Trove PC will have Vulkan API support in the future? No idea what that is, but they say no. Can Dormant Lightning and Valiant Dragon Eggs loot into Dragon Coins, as currently they both loot into 100 glim? This is really interesting because these eggs you actually get out of a pack, and also I'm pretty sure you can get them out of the store now, right? Here, is that the Siege and Dusk? Is that what they're talking about? I don't think so. I think they're talking about the more recent pack. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but either way, these are eggs that you would end up getting that for some weird reason just loot collect into glim, and they actually respond with and say that it was a designer will review this situation. I mean, come on guys, like seriously, almost every time they end up adding dragon eggs, they end up loot collecting for glim, which, speaking of which, I'm pretty sure, where is it? I know I have an egg somewhere around here for like one of the other Corgi dragon egg. That's it. Oh, the Corgi dragon is the Valiant Dragon. So there you go, folks. That's exactly what we were talking about. It's the Corgi Dragon and the Lightning Dragon. I didn't even know that it was called the Valiant Dragon. That's weird. Most recent batch of Chaos Crafter costumes give 35. Will it change to 70? I don't know what that means, but the response is possibly yes, but we need to crunch the numbers. So I'm assuming that what they're talking about is there's going to end up being a bunch more costumes that are going to be coming to the Chaos Crafter, and maybe the devs themselves need to kind of organize the items that it actually costs to craft all the costumes, because as they end up adding more items to the game and costumes to the game, of course the game gets harder and harder and harder for new players that don't end up having the sheer amount of resources that you're going to need in order to craft all these things to begin with, right? Can we get the camera to remember player preferences? Great request. We'll take a look at that. That would actually be awesome, because I'm sick and tired of going into worlds and having to zoom my camera in and out like a freak. I'm assuming that that's what it means, because field of view is obviously something that you change in your settings, and that ends up getting saved. Unless you end up doing it through the config, I'm not sure whether or not it ends up getting reset. So anyways, we've got an interesting question here. In Shadow Towers, not all the mobs possess auras. Not all the mobs that possess auras, so elite enemies, drop shadow shards, but do shadow fire fragments drop from all the enemies, or only the ones that drop shards? So I'm guessing this question is in relation to what I've been talking about in my videos, and also just other people I'm sure have picked up on it. Almost all of the enemies that the devs ended up taking from the Everdark and putted their code into the Shadow Tower, those guys don't actually drop any fragments and any gear or anything like that, which makes us naturally assume that the Starfire fragments wouldn't drop from them either. So here's what the devs say. Need to investigate deeper. It's likely they drop only from the ones that drop shadow shards, so we'll look into it. So hopefully it's something that they prioritize, because otherwise that is one of the things that is holding back Shadow Towers, because those enemies also don't drop Binding Darkness, making it a much harder resource to farm than the devs give credit, because most of the enemies that you find in Shadow Towers are those Everdark enemies, rather than just being elite versions of Shadow Tower mobs. So hopefully that ends up getting resolved. Will Chaos Chest tradables ever be fixed, or are there plans to move all of those items to Luxion? The dev's response: Luxion will come through with once existed items that are aren't attainable right now. Readily accepting feedback, combining the forums and chats to improve this stuff. Pretty much they're just going to be improving Luxion. We talked about this in the last live stream highlight video, right? Because they pretty much are saying that they want to work on Luxion. They're taking suggestions on the forums and stuff like that, so get on over there and start screaming at them to start getting some good stuff in that trash compactor's inventory, because seriously, that guy sucks. Will there be a magic find limit? That's actually a really interesting question, because their response is... Okay, so here we go. The response is there probably won't be a cap, but maybe a revision of how it works. Not for quite a while, though, at least, but we are aware of it, so we will look into it eventually. Famous last words, Trine Worlds, famous last words. That's a very interesting question, because as everybody knows, as they keep adding more dragons to the game, we keep getting more magic find into the game, and as we get more magic find, they keep on nerfing drop rates and making it worse and worse and less accessible for new players to actually access any of the endgame content, just because of the simple fact that you have to get 50 dragons before you can even play this game at a functional level. Like, they really need to look into that. Not in the near future. They need to look into that, because it's a problem, guys. It's been a problem for years. It's being even more of a problem as they're adding more dragons. So, will there be more uses for Diamond Dragonite in the future? The devs say it will be It will and continues to be a required occasionally for materials and new recipes. Yeah, they keep adding things that already require Diamond Dragonite anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Would it be possible for dragon fragments to loot collect into coins, since they're only worth about 400 flux? That's actually a really good one. That would be great if dragon fragments, as you end up finding them out in the world, they really should loot collect into dragon coins. That would be great. So the devs specifically say, if there is a specific one you feel needs looking at, call it out. Sometimes the goal item is crafted and there isn't a secondary use for the material. So I guess they're talking about crafting the fragments themselves, but honestly speaking, you should be able to loot collect anything dragon related into dragon coins. I think that would be really good, because especially with us randomly finding dragon fragments and not being able to use them for anything, right? Any plans to change enemy AI in 2018? Finally, somebody actually asked that, because as we all know, the AI in Trove has been a joke since the first conception of this game. We're still running on alpha code. There's no AI. You want to know what a ranged enemy does as soon as it engages you? Slowly starts strafing around you. You want to know what melee characters do? Run right at you. That's it. So their response is definitely something we want to do, but haven't had the time to work on anything like this lately. So no plans for 2018. That's what it sounds like to me. But hopefully they actually do work it out. And I'm not talking about like, oh, we're going to tweak the AI so that they slowly start strafing to the left instead of the right. No, they need to overhaul the AI. Like, it's not even... It's not good. So the next question is, any plans to add more boss modifications? The dev's response is, plans to add new stats and abilities to boss mobs later this year. Interesting, because we've already got thorns and enemies setting us on fire and stuff, and the bombs, like the fade bombs and everything, is like, the bosses already have enough ability to absolutely wreck your face, so I'm really curious to see what they end up doing with that. But they specifically say new stats and abilities, which makes me wonder if they're talking about U10 content, right? So can fish be added to the marketplace? Devs say that there's no plans for that currently. There are technical reasons, though. Yeah, it's the same reason why gear and stuff like that doesn't actually isn't able to get added to the marketplace, because of the fact that it is an item. And with the way that Trove works, let me answer their question for them, right? So the way that Trove works is when you end up putting an item onto the marketplace, it essentially is actually deleting the item that's in your inventory and creating a separate specific marketplace item of the item that you just ended up putting up. And that's why they can't put gear and can't put fish and stuff like that, because all of those items have variations of themselves, and the game, as far as I can tell, doesn't actually know how to differentiate. Like, if you would put stellar gear on the store, it would just put stellar gear on the store and like make the stats, I don't know, some preset that they would have to manually code into the game, and then you would pull it out of the store and it would probably end up having those messed up stats, rather than specifically having all of the pearls and all the stats that you ended up rolling on them and stuff like that, right? So I don't know, maybe if they ended up doing it with tradable stellar gear, but it's not something that needs to be added. It would be nice, but I don't think that it's actually possible as far as the game is concerned. So next question. While other fish like jadefinch are required for While other fish like jadefinch... Will other fish like jadefinch be required for select craftable items? The question was typed out wrong and weird, but anyways, only if we have a new recipe where it makes sense to use, and only if it works thematically. Okay, so they essentially could have just said no plans for it unless we're going to have like a fish mount. Then it's going to cost fish to craft it or something like that, right? So here's actually a really interesting thing. The question is, will the sun and moon aura be available via Luxion? That would be really interesting if Luxion sold prisms of light in general. I would actually really like to see that. But their response is, although heavily requested, there are no plans to add this to Luxion due to how it was implemented. From a costly pack, it's not something we want to bring back, especially through Luxion. So, interestingly enough, the way that you ended up getting the Sun Moon Aura is by spending $100 on a Mantle of Power pack that I don't know if it's available anymore, which, you know, that's perfectly fine that they say that they say they don't want to end up adding something that was so valuable, you know, thus taking away the value of the item to the players that ended up spending $100. However, I will argue otherwise and say, devs, seriously? They've added plenty of items that were really, really awesome to the Chaos Chest rotation, and items that were exclusive for like beta and alpha testers and stuff like that. Like, let's just take a look right here at the credit pack. This Trove sword was a specific reward for being part of the closed beta. I had this sword because I participated in the closed beta, and they just throw it in the $100 pack. So I don't think that's the problem, devs. I think it's that they just don't want to end up doing it because they would have to kind of overhaul the old code of the Prism or of the Sun Moon Aura, and how would they put that in a tradable inventory as well? Like, it just wouldn't make sense. So when can we expect the next power update to have more DPS balance across all classes, since the Gunslinger is way ahead of the others? Very, very well asked question that specifically mentions how the Gunslinger is the most overpowered in the game, while also asking if there's going to end up being a solution. I like questions like this because if it would just be a solid question of, is there going to be new DPS characters to the game? They would just say, oh yeah, the Draco, when we rebalance it, is going to be new DPS. But the Draco rebalance probably is still going to end up falling to the wayside just because the way that the abilities work, right? But anyways, the response is very, very cool because they actually say the next major update should influence this to a degree. I'm guessing they're talking about the Draco, but we won't see a formal balance for all classes till at least later this year. So I'm guessing what they mean by that is they're not going to have an update come out that's going to rebalance everything at once. They're going to slowly rebalance certain characters during the bigger updates of this year. However, they say that the new class coming up may provide some competition with regards against the Gunslinger. Oh, they finally ended up talking about the new class. Oh, dude, I'm so stoked about that. He's actually coming out in 2018. That's awesome. And they seem to acknowledge the fact that the Gunslinger is the strongest and say that they're trying to make the new character work either with the Gunslinger or be even better than the Gunslinger. I would love that, because as much as I love the Gunslinger, man, and I do, I want a character that I can main forever. I want a character that's really, really fun and powerful to play. You know, and we've speculated in the past whether the class is going to be a monk or a samurai character. I would love to have a two-handed character. That would be absolutely awesome. Just a bruiser. All damage or nothing. You know, he just goes in and smashes everything. Maybe he has a lot of crowd control because he can hit all the enemies around him and stuff. That would be so cool. Kind of like the candy bar, but like cranked up to 11, or maybe even just more, feels more like a generic warrior rather than like the knight, the boomeranger, and the barb. They all kind of have their own distinct feel, but they don't really feel like a powerful warrior, you know? Either way, I'm so excited that they actually talked about there being the new class, because we were all wondering behind the scenes whether the new class was even coming in 2018, dude. So anyways, next question. Can you add other dragon fragments to the club merchant or Luxion for those players who suffer the wrath of bad RNG? So they actually respond with, that's a really good idea. We'll think about it. Do it. Don't think about it. If they added more oh, dude. If they added the dragon fragments that you can find out in the world to the adventurine merchant, wouldn't that be great? Still keeping the ones that you can get out randomly in the world, but like the spider spinner fragments or like the starfire fragments, if those were added to the adventurine merchant, that would be a great way of rebalancing it without having to change the drop rates and stuff like that. Excuse me, water went down the wrong tube there. That would be really, really cool, dude. I really want them to push that because the RNG in this game is absolutely trash. So, is there a reason old boots don't stack? Because they're old. One would assume botters. Yeah, that's a big reason why old boots don't stack, is because when people bought for fishing, the old boots are supposed to slowly fill up your inventory so that you can't just sit there all night getting more and more fish, and you kind of have to go and dump them all, which unfortunately you can't just loot collect them, which I would like, just because getting rid of old boots can become a really big problem if you want to try and get rid of a whole bunch of them all at once. Outside of, I guess you could just craft the old boot trophy in the adventures crafting table, right? Next question. Any plans to fix club tags on consoles? We're working on the issue. Not yet found a fix internally. We need more time. So I'm guessing club tags don't work under your characters on console. Honestly speaking, I'm not exactly sure what that issue is. Next question. The current weekly bonuses are beneficial, all right? But will we see new ones? Yeah, okay, that's a good question. So the devs response and say, a couple of updates from now, you'll see a new star bar type, new tomes, and all weekly bonuses are being revamped in the next big update. So that means that all of the weekly bonuses are going to end up being revamped with the March update. Now, that begs the question, are they going to be adding some new element of play to the game that is why they're going to revamp it? You know? Like, are they going to end up adding a new area that you can grind or something like that? Or something to do with, oh, you know what? I bet you it's going to be related to the Bound Brilliance and Binding Darkness. I bet you anything, maybe even the Shadow Shards is going to end up including the Bound Brilliance and Binding Darkness from Shadow Tower enemies. I bet that's it. I bet that's it. So anyways, next one. When are you going to get around to revising the Boomeranger? So their response is, great feedback. Our combat designer will review it. Okay, I mean, the Boomeranger was going to be the next character they were going to work on, and then they canceled that outright to work on the Draco. So really interesting that they're sitting there going, yeah, I guess we should work on that character. Like, yeah, that was the whole point. Now, Boomeranger doesn't need too much work, just a little bit of a damage buff, and ultimately speaking, get rid of that knockback on the character because it's gross. Can we have a fix to see XP bars from clubs that aren't our primary? That's a good one, because if you don't have your primary club's the only one you can see right here. I would love to see a down arrow that you could click that would end up rescaling this club right here to showing all of these stats and stuff. I think that would actually be really acceptable. So anyways, what they say is we might get around to this at some point outside of the scope of what we could produce for the Adventures update, though. So I guess they're saying that it's not going to be coming out in the Adventure update that's hitting next Tuesday. I don't know, maybe it's something that they're going to be working on in the future. It's not mandatory, though. It's not something that's going to be a top priority for them, nor would I expect it to be a top priority for them. So this is interesting. Do you plan on adding any underwater content, coral, new ore, underwater caves? That would have been awesome. When the original ocean biomes were being added to the game, the devs kept constantly, like, they were lying. They kept saying that swimming was coming into the game. Swimming is in the game, technically speaking, in the form of infinite jump in water. I thought the ocean biome was going to be awesome when it first got added to the game, because I was hyped at the idea that there would be underwater dungeons, underwater combat, and stuff like that. Instead, we just got the same dungeon generation, but a big open ocean for no reason, right? So anyways, the response to that is not going to spoil this too much. Underwater, no. Underground, maybe. Maybe that's got, again, to do with U10, because U10 most likely is going to end up being pre-built worlds, so they could end up having certain cave systems and stuff like that, right? Because otherwise the game already does generate caves, they're just not very attractive, so we'll see what happens with that. Next question is, can we have a way to craft iridescent blocks and new block recipes? New block recipes, most definitely. Iridescence, no. Scoop and Gloop on Candy Barbarian works great in Shadow Towers, but does not pull in Prime Worlds. What? Do they just mean the class gem ability? Anyways, the devs say, we weren't aware of this. We'll add it to the bug and get a designer, bug list and get a designer to fix that. Sounds unintentional. Yeah, most definitely. Then they've got Dev Ally Update is the next question, which that's interesting because the developers every now and then end up doing this thing for charity where you pretty much donate money or pay money to get allies, mounts, and stuff like that designed by the person on the dev team that is their designer. So I ended up missing my opportunity to end up buying stuff because I wanted to buy like a bunch of different mounts and costumes and stuff like that that would be added to the game, and see if the developer could come up with, you know, like a scythe helmet, a scythe costume and stuff, or a scythe dragon and stuff like that. And, you know, you could end up spending a lot of money to actually get a new skeleton model for a mount in the game too, which made me think instantly of, I want a Hydra mount that actually has like 3 or 4 heads and stuff, animating and stuff. So anyways, this is just talking about the allies, and the devs say that server work is needed before they can be given out. 2 still need animating for a start unsure. Okay, so anyways, they're just saying no. There's going to be an update that's going to be coming out sometime after Valentine's, though. Next question. Can you make a variety of weekly contest orders, like different ore as Infinium is boring all the time? Okay, different ore than Infinium, because Infinium all the time, just every week, it's just boring is what they're saying. The devs say that that's noted. And then last but not least, we've got, will the Sun and Moon aura be unlocked by the Prism at any point? Now, the Prism of Light is an item that you can end up getting from the Empowered Gem boxes very, very rarely, and it unlocks stellar auras, right? There needs to be another way to actually unlock stellar auras. That method is just dead. It's complete RNG. It's bad. There needs to be a better method for it. But in either case, the answer to this question about the Sun Moon aura is, as it was originally sold in a pack. Because of that, we aren't against it coming back, but it would have to be brought back in a pack rather than actually being something that you would get, I don't know, for free in the game by just crafting it or something. But in any case, that's already it, everybody. So we got some really exciting stuff coming around the corner. Most of all, I want to hear more notes, info about the new class. If somebody's watching this video and happens to catch the dev live stream next week, please ask something about the next class. Like, we gotta squeeze hints out of them, man. I want to know, when is the class going to be coming out? Obviously, it's not going to be coming out on the March update. What type of character is it going to be? Is it going to be melee or ranged? Hopefully, it's going to be melee, and hopefully, it's going to be some type of new weapon or something. I would like to know, are they going to end up using a new weapon? Is it going to be a fist-fighting character? Is it going to be a character that's just going to use a two-handed sword? And if it's two-handed sword, is it going to use the current melee attack, melee items in the game? Or is it going to have its own unique set of items that are going to have to be added, which essentially means a whole bunch of new mastery as well? I don't know. I just want the new class, man. That's all I'm pumped about. All this new stuff sounds awesome, but I want the new class and I want my U10. Thanks so much for watching, though, folks. Sorry this video was longer than I expected, but either way, we had to cover all this stuff. Thanks for watching, though. Don't forget to like, share, favorite, and subscribe for more daily content. And so also going to build up loyalty points in my merch store. Links are in the description for that. And for the fans that want to go the extra mile and donate to me for absolutely free, there's links in the description talking about Gawkbox. Have a fantastic day, everybody. If you have anything to discuss about any of these questions or the Q&A or whatever, leave comments in the comment section down below. I would love to see your thoughts. Sign over and stay epic, everybody.